let's get started casting on. I'm going to use some Vantage Choice because I think that is the no-fail yarn, and it's really good for beginners to start with. You can use many other different acrylics successfully. It just takes a little practice. My favorite way to do it is to have a caked ball of yarn because it sits still on the floor and you have a nice gentle center pull. If you don't, I never cake a full skein of yarn. I just wait till I have, the last bit and cake that up. So if you just have a regular skein, just pull some out of the center and get it loose. Alright, you want to make sure that your carriage is closed for the cast on process. And I always begin with the first needle. We're going to be traveling counterclockwise, so the first needle will be the first one on the right. Leave yourself a tail, about this long, and catch it on that first needle. Then skip the next, catch the next. Skip this one, catch this one, not this one, but this one, not this one, but this one, and you just keep going back and forth all the way around the machine. Alright, so you should end with one you skipped. It's coming around. And here's a key part. Let's see. I wanted to make sure you could see the carriage. When you insert your yarn, make sure that it's fully in the carriage. You want it to pop into this little hole, and you want to make sure it's feeding through. If it doesn't, it'll skip a stitch. It holds it in the perfect spot for when the needle comes around to catch it. Now, before I take my first stitch here, I always hold my little tail right there, just to make sure everything goes in right. And then you want this first row to cast on pretty loosely, so don't apply a whole lot of tension here. I'm just kind of holding it out, making sure that everything catches. Alright, so we finished the first round. Now, at this point, you can go at a pretty good clip. And you'll have to experiment, depending upon what yarn you're using, as to how much tension to apply right here. Vantage Choice doesn't need a lot of tension. It's a real agreeable yarn in this machine. And you'll see you've got kind of a little loose edge right here. And that's okay. That's normal, and it's just how it works. So you continue on with your project, and we'll go into some cast-off methods. Okay, so I'm back here at my first black needle, and I like to change colors or bind off or end everything right there. And the reason why, as you can see on the back of this snowman scarf, you see where the joins are? They're a little uneven. It's just the nature of the knit stitch and the round like that. So what I want is to center that in the back so that it's clearly, it won't affect your designs or anything like that. And I'm putting it in the back like that. But I want it to be in the same place every time for that reason. Now if you're just changing, say, to the same color, it wouldn't be apparent, so it's not a problem. But that's why I make a habit of changing every time I get back to the black one. Now if you want to do a gathered bind off, you'll need your tapestry needle. I like the one that came with the Addi. And you want to leave yourself a good amount to work with. So basically what I do, it's probably about that much. And I clip it right here. But I have already done this when I was demonstrating the snowman scarf, so I'm going to cut to that clip right there. Now Stephanie, who's Super Polymer Clay YouTube username, wanted to know how I take it off. And I don't do anything special. Now the instructions that came with the Addi told you that you should do this from this direction. And then the second one, you should go from this direction and scoop it up. But because I'm going to do a gathered end, I want to do all of mine from the same direction because it'll make it more of a, oh, I don't know, a guide to slide on. It'll be easier to slide in my humble opinion. I may be wrong. Uh-oh. What happened there? Oh, you know what? I accidentally let my yarn get caught on the other side, so I need to stop talking and pay attention. After you get a few of them done, you can do more than one at a time. I like this little needle that came with it because it has a curved end, so it makes scooping easier. Now, I'm very comfortable using my left hand to do this and using my right to turn the crank, but some people may have to figure out their own method if they must use their dominant hand for the needle part. Yeah, I can do left-handed cartwheels, all kinds of left-handed things. Okay. So, whoops, come back. So see, now I've got a gathered end. Now there are times when you're not going to want a gathered end, and there's many techniques that call for the use of waste yarn. So you won't be cutting this and taking it off. What you'll be doing is wanting to save this yarn, keeping it attached, and then you still need to get it off the machine. But if you just take it off the machine without doing something to catch these stitches, you're going to lose all your work. So that's where the application of waste yarn comes in. So you just take some kind of scrap yarn that you really, have left over or whatever. And to keep it attached, this is the process you go through. All right, right now look what's happening. It knitted this one just fine. It's about to go down and knit this one, but this is the place where I want to join. So I'm going to be very aware of that. I'm going to open up my carriage, take it out that little hole, get the rest of my yarn because I'm going to, let's pretend I'm going to do a crochet edge on this. I'm going to stuff it down in the middle like this. And I'm going to keep it in line so it'll make sure to knit this stitch. But I'm going to let go of it on this one. Okay? Now I take my waste yarn and replace the purple. Okay, so I've closed it up. It's in the carriage exactly as it needs to be, and I hold these two ends together. And that way this one will go ahead and knit nicely, and this one will knit too, carrying in, adding in our waste yarn. Now because this is still attached, I'll tie my little knot here and make sure it gets under this, I don't know the proper term, I call it a fin because it looks like a fin to me. And then you continue on knitting as usual. And I like to do about 4 or 5 rounds just because I don't want it to have any chance of coming loose. So here I am back at the beginning, and this time getting it off the machine is really easy. I'm not going to cut this waste yarn because I use it over and over again. Okay, hold this yarn out of the way and close your carriage, and then you just turn it. Once you go around, all right, now watch this. This is really cool. It is totally off the machine. Isn't that neat? And so now you can pick up your stitches. See along these edges right here? And you can either do a hand knitted ribbed edging or I have another video on crocheted edging, whatever, but it gives you so many more options like this. Now, just like using a waste yarn cast off, you can cast on with waste yarn too. And you just use the same exact principle. Get this one, not that one, get this one, not that one. And you'll want to go again, I say 4 or 5 rounds. People who are more talented with their knitting can probably get away with less. I just want to make sure it's really secure. I use the same exact method, just as if this were the main yarn. And I'll go about 4 or 5 rounds. And using the same method that you would when you're adding more yarn or changing colors. Oops, I think I got a cat hair in there. You do the same thing, making sure you catch the very next needle, and then I hold these 2 yarns together until they knit. And then at this time you could go ahead and I usually tie it once right here, and then after I go probably around 3 or so rounds, when it's on the opposite side of me, like right here, I can see so much better, and when I tie my double knot, I'm just more aware of the tension. I couldn't really tell what was going on when it was brand new over on this side, but when I see it across from me, I can tell how tight I've got it. And this is perfect for securing. Now, of course, if you're going to sew your ends in, you want to leave them long enough to sew. If I'm doing a scarf, a big long tube scarf, I won't bother sewing them in. Now, if you were doing waste yarn, you wouldn't want to double knot this, because it's just too much trouble to get it undone, because you want to remove the waste yarn, right? It's waste. But that's just what you do if you're attaching another color and continuing on with your project. So yeah, so wherever you started your main color, that would be your row 1. You know, you go around once, that's 1. So you reset your counter at that time. So there you go.